My name is Orin Seybert. I'm the president of Peninsula Airways Incorporated. I was brought to a little village in Bristol Bay as a child, a little village called Pilot Point. And my parents were school teachers, and they came to Bristol Bay to teach school after the war. So I grew up there and went to high school, and there was very little air service in those days in those villages, and so I decided I wanted to learn to fly and go around and see the country. And so I did that. The first year out of high school, I brought a plane to Pilot Point in Bristol Bay. And but pretty soon somebody would walk up to me and say, well, I'll give you some money if you'll take me along with you. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea, getting paid for something I wanted to do anyway. And that's basically how Pen Air started. With just me and one airplane, March of 1956, over 42 years ago. In the years since, you know, I spent my whole career flying up and down the chain in Bristol Bay, and gradually started adding more airplanes and setting up more bases. I made my first trip to Dutch Harbor here in 1963, and I've been flying out here continuously since then. We're now operating over 40 airplanes, serving over 80 communities throughout the state, and with airplanes ranging up to 30-passenger small airliners. But in the meantime, we got into the Grumman Goose here. This airplane was designed in 1936 by Leroy Grumman, who lived on Long Island. And he wanted to have a way to get, a number of businessmen on Long Island wanted to go to Manhattan. So he designed this airplane to take off on a runway and go land in the East River, where they could pull up right at the foot of Wall Street. That was 1936. The airplane to this day has had very, very few changes or modifications to it. It's a flying boat. The hull is actually a boat. So as opposed to a float plane, which has a lot of braces and wires which tend to come apart in rough water. So this thing can handle the rough water around this Dutch Harbor and Kodiak Island area much better. It's a 9-passenger, twin-engine plane, so it's got a real high safety factor. Pen Air is now the only U.S. carrier left operating a Grumman Goose in scheduled service, because in the lower 48 they've built so many runways, and even most of Alaska now, that the plane is limited as to what it can carry because it's so heavy because of the amphibious capability. It can't carry as much or go as fast as a comparable land plane. But when you have to take off on a runway and land in the water, this is the airplane. And we have communities like Akutan, 40 miles from here, which is extremely mountainous. They'll never be able to build a runway there. And on Kodiak Island, there are similar situations with various lodges and salmon canneries. And so we will always be operating these airplanes and trying to find parts for them. Maintenance is a big problem. We're operating in salt water, so there's a lot of corrosion. And then they're just, you know, they are old, so they require a lot of maintenance, but we keep them in top shape. They're totally in perfect condition and totally airworthy. I've accumulated 10,000 hours myself in this type of airplane. And I was, for instance, out at Akutan Village. Atka for years had no air service at all. There was no runway, and their service was a Navy tugboat once a month out of Adak. Alaska was setting up the satellite telephone stations at all these communities. I did some charters out here, and I made a trip to Atka. It was the first time a plane had been to Atka in 15 years, so I kind of pioneered that air service. And I've been out as far as Kiska Island, which is, I only know of one other person that's flown a plane like this out to Kiska after the wartime years. And so I'm kind of proud of those accomplishments. I still remember my very first trip out here in 1963. I had a charter to Akutan, like I said, into Dutch Harbor. And I still remember leaving Unalaska Island and heading out across the strait to these mysterious islands that I'd never been to before. And it was a beautiful June day. The weather was beautiful, and here these islands started appearing, and it was quite, you know, this is such beautiful country out here, and it's so intriguing to be able to fly and go to places where you can envision that no person has ever been there before. There's a lot of history out here, and in fact, you know, these islands have been very well traveled, but it doesn't look like it. It's interesting to note that on every island, all the way up to Adak and beyond, wherever there's a little a cove with a freshwater creek, there are the Brawbury holes, where the Aleuts lived hundreds of years ago. And it's amazing to think of how many people must have lived out here and paddled back and forth in their skin boats. It's the only feasible aircraft to take off on a runway and land in the water in so many of these bays and communities out here that don't have runways. This airplane is just indispensable. Now, out of Dutch Harbor here, Akutan is the primary community. The native community is 100, 150 people, plus Trident Seafoods has their huge plant there now with up to 500-600 workers during the seasons. And they're totally dependent on the Goose. The Goose is the only air support that can service that community in that operation. There's also various processing boats that anchor in some of the bays, and such as Beaver Inlet, Tyson's over there, Arctic Enterprise, and Northern Victor. Also some of the other bays, boats go in for shelter, and we do crew changes, and there's just no other way for them to get aircraft support. There's a similar situation on Kodiak Island. Kodiak has several Wards Cove seafood plants, a number of hunting lodges that are in remote bays around Kodiak Island, and the Goose is the only airplane that can carry a large load and land in that rough water. There's so many different sea conditions that it really takes a lot of experience to determine what you can and can't do. But generally speaking, we can handle seas up to 2 or 3 feet high. This is the very plane that I bought in 1963, 35 years ago, and we are still operating this plane to this day. As you can see, it's named the Spirit of Pilot Point, which is where the company was formed. I put 10,000 hours on this airplane myself, and it's the smallest model of the Grumman flying boats that Grumman built. It's a 5-passenger airplane. We have special long-range tanks in it, and that's how I was able to make it from here to Atka. Atka is like a 3-hour flight with this particular airplane. These things are slow because you have the floats here, a lot of drag, and it's not a high-speed airplane, but there's nothing else that can take off on the runway and land in the water, particularly the rough water that we have out here.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Rafrano for Channel 8, and we're about ready to board the Goose, the Pen Air Goose, and we're going to Akutan. We'll see you on board. Hi, we're getting on board now. This is pilot Guy Morgan, and he's going to take us to Akutan.
I hope so.
And back, I hope.
John. That's John for the happy face. Somebody looks like we return. Like the
awfully loud in here, but you can imagine with two propellers, one on each side. But it's actually a really nice flight. We're having a nice view of the ocean and the beautiful mountains. The sky is clear, not too bumpy. It's actually very smooth. I was reading up on my Pen Air emergency exit and information pamphlet here, and on the other side gives you details about the Grumman Goose. Pen Air's Grumman Goose here coming in and out of Dutch Harbor in Alaska. We are on our way to Akutan, and I guess we couldn't have asked for better weather. It is awfully noisy. There's a total of 4 passengers, plus the cameraman, John Mazer, up there, and the pilot. And he's doing a great job. Again, a beautiful, beautiful day. Oh, we also have 2 cats on board. Didn't want to forget about the 2 cats. They seem to be doing okay. Maybe they're used to this. Maybe they fly back and forth from Akutan often. I don't know. It's actually very interesting as I look out the window here to my left and I look down at the beautiful water. The color is almost tropical. There's some patches of turquoise. And when we first lifted off and left, I could see long strands of seaweed against the almost turquoise blue patches of water. It's very beautiful view on a nice sunny day. The trouble is, every time I look out the window, my breath steams up the window, so I have to keep taking my sleeve and wiping the window so I can get a good view. Then, of course, my breath fogs up the window again. It's not really that cold. It's not warm either. But I'm looking forward to landing in Akutan and meeting the people there. So we'll see you when we touch down. Yeah, hi, I'm Susan Refrano from Unalaska Dutch Harbor, Channel 8. Hi, what's your name?
John Breskin.
Hi, John Breskin. I think we have Breskins in Unalaska, don't we, John? Well, are you related to people in Dutch Harbor, Unalaska?
Yeah, we're all related. Breskins and over here in Dutch.
Well, have you been to Dutch Harbor living in Unalaska?
I haven't lived there, but I've been there.
Yeah. So are you born and raised here in Akutan?
Yeah, you got that.
Wow, so this is your home.
This is home.
It's beautiful, a beautiful day. So how long have you been working here, helping with the planes in and out? Actually, what is your job? What is your title?
I deliver fuel.
Oh, you're the fuel deliverer. You're the fuel technician here. How long have you been
3 years.
So this is a pretty nice day to be delivering fuel then, right?
Oh, yeah, nice day.
Hi, kids. What's your name?
Alec.
Alec? Hi, I'm Susan. What's your name?
Karen.
Karen. And what's your name?
Joe.
Joe. Say it again.
Joe.
Joe? Did I say that right? My mouth is frozen. Were you born and raised here?
No.
Where are you from, Joe?
Anchorage.
You're from Anchorage. When did you come here to Akutan?
When I was a baby, I think.
When you were a baby? Yeah. So what's there to do in town?
Nothing.
And what about you? What is there to do in town here? What do you do?
Just walk around.
So we want to ask you, how long have you been a pilot?
To fly in 1965, and then I started flying commercially in about 1970.
Where did you start learning how to fly?
Iliamna, Alaska.
Oh, so you are a true Alaskan pilot. You didn't start in the lower 48 and then...
Not at all.
What was the scariest incident that you can share with us in your flying history?
About a mile over here.
Oh, no.
If you want to wait a couple hours, I'll demonstrate it for you.
No. I'll take your word for it.
It changed quite rapidly, and it came up quite severely. And I can't say that we were totally out of control, but it was virtually unmanageable for a few seconds, and that was the good part. Then I had to turn around and go right back through it to get out of here.
Oh.
So
you're saying you tried to land and then...
no, I had taken off, and I have to take off into the wind, and then climbing out over the cannery here, there was some severe wind changes, updrafts and downdrafts. And, we had a brand new ramp helper, and he was about the color of the snow when we left here.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
If that's a good day, I don't ever want to fly again.
My goodness. But are there people that just for fun flying the Goose just to, come and maybe spend a night or a day on one of the other islands that you do travel to?
Actually, there are some people. The Goose is a World War II aircraft. A lot of people are looking for a piece of nostalgia. We use the Goose here in Dutch Harbor and Akutan, and then we have some others stationed in Kodiak on a scheduled basis, and a lot of people just come down to ride on the Grumman Goose. They were built from 1938 to about 1946, and that's older than most of us really are.
Well, would you tell me what Grumman means? Explain that.
Oh, Grumman is the manufacturer of the Goose. The Goose is one of their smaller projects, and some of the larger ones are up there roaming around on satellites now.
Oh, really? Are they still manufacturing these planes?
No, they just made them from the mid-30s to the mid-40s, and that was it. There were not very many made.
How many are in existence now, or in use, I should say?
Oh, there's probably about 60 of them left flying. And probably our company is one of the very few that has them operating commercially, and not just in Alaska, but in the world. There's probably some like in South America and Australia, but there's not a whole lot in the rest of the United States. Yeah,
now this is the ramp that you were talking about that was built.
Right, it was named after one of our pilots that was missing on a flight. Then he worked here for a number of years, and
Here in Akutan?
Yeah, in between Dutch and Akutan. And the town people dedicated this ramp to Mr. Sias.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Guy, we're about ready to head on back over to Unalaska Dutch Harbor. So what do you think? You think it's going to be as equally as smooth, nice flight on the way back?
Well, since we've been here, the wind has changed about 3 times, and the volume has gotten higher and lower, and it appears to be much nicer now than it was 20, 30 minutes ago.
Oh,
I
good.
think you're going to have a real smooth trip on the way back.
Well, I hope so, but I brought my Dramamine just in case. Guy Morgan, thank you so much for bringing us safely back to Unalaska Dutch Harbor. We made it.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to get back safe and sound.
Yeah, so if you want to ride the Goose, I recommend you do it. And Guy will be your pilot. And this is Susan Rofrano reporting for Channel 8 on Alaska Dutch Harbor. See you next time.